Hey everyone, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. And today, the movie I'm reviewing is called Monster Family 2. This colorful animation by Viva Films had a limited theatrical release in October of 2021, timed perfectly for Halloween, but it is now being released everywhere on digital and on demand on January 4th, 2022. So I wanted to tell you about it. So the movie is rated PG and it's an hour and 43 minutes. I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell. I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about with your kids or your family or whoever you watch the movie with, and some funny lines, interesting lines, and some recommendations for some other movies that I think you'll also really like if you like this one. So let's dive in. In a nutshell, I never saw the first Monster Family back in 2018 when it first came out. So I was really excited to see what this franchise was all about. This film is also known as Happy Family 2, as that is one of the main themes of the movie. I'll tell you more about the themes here coming up. But after watching this sequel, I'm definitely going to go back and watch that first one because I actually thought it was really cute. I've read some negative reviews and I just thought, really? Because it's very sweet. It's family friendly. It's very cute. And if you liked the first movie, you're definitely going to get a kick out of the second one. If you haven't seen the first one, like I haven't or hadn't, or I still haven't, it's still really entertaining as a standalone film. The film is produced by British German Ambient Entertainment. And the story is about a monster family, of course, who tries to free Baba Yaga, who's kind of a friendly witch of some sort. And I'm sure in the first movie we learn more about her, but she's very important to this family. And so they try to rescue her. And then Renfield, who is her hunchbacked butler boyfriend, fiance, they're going to get married in this movie. And again, I don't really know much about him. I'm sure that was addressed in the very first movie. So I want to go back and find out more about their stories. But anyway, the family goes to try to rescue both of them from the clutches of young monster hunter Mila Starr. So the monster family's name is the Wishbone family, and they apparently transformed into monsters in the first movie, and I don't know quite how that came to be, but in this movie, they decide to transform back, and there's this little device that helps the son kind of transform the family. So I'm sure there's more explanation to that in the first movie. But anyway, they get transformed into a mummy, a werewolf, Frankenstein's monster, and a vampire. Aided and abetted by their 3 pet bats, the monster family zooms around the world to save their friends, make new monstrous acquaintances, and finally come to the realization that nobody's perfect. And even those with flaws can find happiness and be loved. And ultimately, that's the big theme of the movie. So here is a list of things that I really liked about it. First of all, the animation itself is super cute with adorable details. And I love details. That's really what adds the depth to the animation itself. That, anyway, very impressive. And there are also other fun little details. For example, several times you'll see a little rubber ducky in a scene. It's not a big part of the story. It's just this kind of running thread piece of humor that made me laugh every time. And the landscapings are absolutely fantastic with impressive realism. Hair, fur, moss-covered rocks, plants, and water all look incredible. And I love all the little freckles on many of the characters' faces. And the characters' movements also look very human-like. One of my sons is a 3D animated artist at a very famous video game company. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say, but I think he would be very impressed with the animation and the artistry of the animation, because I was. There's a very fun, bouncy soundtrack that's light and energetic. And there are even a couple of musical numbers, sort of. It's definitely not a full-blown musical, but it just kind of kept things energetic and entertaining, and it was cute. There's lots of visual and spoken humor, and I laughed out loud quite a few times. You get to see a lot of scenes with the famous Aurora Borealis. Seeing the Northern Lights has been on my bucket list forever, and I finally got to see them in November, just a couple of months ago, when I went to Iceland. Yay. So talk to your kids, point them out, let them know that's a thing, and maybe even give them the idea to create a bucket list, if they're old enough to actually come up with something like that. And just simply talk to them about how amazing this beautiful planet is. Kids will be introduced to legendary monsters like King Kong, Loch Ness, and the Abominable Snowman, Dracula, and more. And keep watching during the final credits for another cute scene that shows up at the end. For a kids movie, it's a very pleasant surprise that there's no farting or vomiting in the movie, which is kind of, always on the menu for kids movies. Ultimately, I think my four sons really would have liked this movie when they were younger. There's some cute slapstick comedy and enough goofy situations that I think I could picture my kids laughing during certain moments during the movie. There are also quite a few moral lessons that parents can point out to children after they watch the movie together, because it is definitely a family-friendly movie for all ages. As an adult, I watched this without my kids at home on my computer with this virtual press screener that the studio gave me, and I was totally entertained. So I think the kids will be too. Now, there were a few things that I didn't like as much. Ultimately, there is quite a bit of cliched dialogue, and as talented as the cast is, and they are, their voice work often sounds surprisingly uninspired. I think that has a lot to do with the writing. And I just realized I didn't even tell you who was in the cast. The movie is directed by Holger Tapp, and the voiceover talent, the names that you would recognize, I think, are Emily Carey, Jason Isaacs, Ethan Rouse, Nick Frost, Emily Watson, Ewan Bailey, Catherine Tate, and Daniel Ben-Zanu. So there you go. Another thing that I didn't like is, as a mom trying to raise sons into responsible, caring men and future fathers, I always cringe when I see male figures represented as useless fathers. And it's not just this movie, a lot of animated movies, a lot of sitcoms on TV, a lot of movies just kind of take that trope and they think it's super funny. And the father in this movie is the creature of Frankenstein's monster. And so he can't really talk. He's big, kind of a big oaf guy, and is funny. It plays for laughs, but I just thought I would mention that. Some parts of the story don't actually have final resolution, but young kids probably won't even notice. Even some adults might not even notice. I'll give you an example here in just a minute. The original Monster Family featured Dracula as the villain, and he's definitely in this movie, but he doesn't have the strong presence as the primary villain that I hear he was in the first movie. Still, he's voiced by the awesome Jason Isaacs, who always plays delicious villains like in Harry Potter and that whole franchise, and The Patriot, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. The Monster Family isn't quite as quick or talented as The Incredibles, which was another type of family that this movie reminded me of, because they each have different and unique skills and talents when they become monsters. So for example, there's this crucial fight scene where most of the family members just stand there until it's their turn to get conquered by the bad guys. And then there's this one family member who's kind of doing all of the work. And I was like, and you literally see the family members just kind of standing there. And I was like, you guys have some skills. Why are you fighting? There were also other moments where each family member could have used their distinct talents, like in The Incredibles, but they often go underutilized. So that was just a shame. And it made me want to know what I missed in that first movie. For example, there are some friendly bats who provide humor, and sometimes they're helpful to the family, but I don't know how they came to be the family's pets or sidekicks, which I'm sure is explained in the first movie. And I could tell that Dracula had an important role to play in the family's life in that first movie, but I also knew I was really missing a big piece of that story. So again, I'm definitely going to go back and watch that first one. Let me give you some tips for parents. There's a teenage girl who talks about dropping out of school. That's one of the little side stories that's just dropped. There's no resolution. I don't, if it happened, I guess I missed it. I didn't hear her say, I'm going back to school, or, I guess I'm not dropping out of school or something like that. You see a boy's underwear several times. There's cartoon violence as expected. Different parenting styles are seen. And I was excited to actually discover there are these fun activity sheets that Viva Films provides for kids. I love it when film studios actually do that for kid-friendly movies. So you're going to have to actually go to moviereviewmom.com, where you can click on those activity sheets, download them, and print them for your family. And then there are some fun things, like your kids can make a face mask, and they can color in the Loch Ness sea monster. And then there's some other little fill in the missing vowels and worksheets and things like that. And so once you have your children do them, they can take pictures and upload them on Instagram or something, and then tag at Viva Kids Films. So I think that that's pretty cute. So some themes that are definitely worth having conversations with your kids about are bullying and even body shaming, family dynamics, self-confidence and discovering your talents, magic. Overall, the biggest theme is you don't have to be perfect to be loved. Also, happiness. And then other themes are self-doubt, believing in others and showing support. And in fact, tonight we just had our family Zoom chat because 3 of my sons now live in different cities from where our youngest son is, who's here at home, and us. And so we have these little family Zoom chats on Sunday nights. Anyway, and so I said, okay, so for tonight, let's talk about our New Year's resolutions for 2022 and pick one goal and a specific way we as a family can support you with that goal. So that could be a conversation worth having as well. And then other themes are being human, courage, kindness, supportive parenting and families, and making the world a better place. All right, so I always write down funny lines and interesting lines so I can kind of give you a taste for some of the humor and some of the depth that's in movies as well. So I include those on my written review at moviereviewmom.com too. So one of them is spoken by Max Wishbone, who's the young boy who's totally adorable. And he's the one that you see his underwear, his pants drop a few times, and he has little pictures of pizza on his underwear, and somebody makes fun of his pizza underwear, and he's like, hey, never joke about pizza. And then all these crazy things are happening. And so the mom, who is Emma Wishbone, voiced by the fantastic Emily Watson, says, remember the time we nearly died fighting that evil vampire? Sometimes I miss that. And again, she's referencing the first movie. So apparently lots of mayhem happened. And so I've got to see that. And then some interesting lines are when Max Wishbone says, it's okay to make mistakes. And they all learn that. And then he also says in another moment, in another scene, he says, perfect is boring. And he's trying to convince everyone, don't be so uptight about being perfect. It's boring and nobody's perfect anyway. So ultimately, I thought the movie was super cute. It's not perfect. Nothing is, but it was enjoyable. And so my movie review mom grade is a B. So some other movies that immediately came to my mind that I want to recommend to you are, of course, the first Monster Family movie, which I'll be watching too. And then, as I mentioned, The Incredibles instantly came to my mind because each one in the family has different skills. And then another beloved monster movie animation is Hotel Transylvania. Now, they had announced that they were going to be premiering their film. And then, of course, like every movie since 2020, they've had delays and it hasn't come out yet. So stay tuned for that one. And thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. I hope that if you watch this movie that you do get a kick out of it. Thank you for supporting me, for subscribing. Tell your friends. And my goal is to get up to the next level of subscribers. And so tell everybody that this is a great place to be. And thank you. All right. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.